You know, I've written about this and I talk about it a little in the book, but my dad became a very famous evangelical leader in the 1970s and 80s. And when I say famous, I mean in that ghetto, if you like. So evangelicals would have known who he was then. And he's credited, if you want to put it that way, with being one of the founders of the religious right. So I grew up hanging around with people like Billy Graham, Pat Robertson, Dr. Dobson from Focus on the Family. We knew three different presidents. In fact, Mike Ford, President Ford's son, was studying with my dad, and his wife Gail used to babysit my daughter when I was, 30, 40 years ago. So we had a lot of connections with the power politics of what became the religious right and then the Republican Party. I left all that in 1984 after my dad died, gradually got out, and then eventually just closed the door, completely changed my views. And of course, my book really talks about my spiritual journey away from evangelical fundamentalism to what I regard as a kind of a progressive spirituality, where I embrace paradox and doubt instead of all of these religious certainties that I was raised on. So that's a kind of a real fast thumbnail sketch that brings you up to speed. You know, obviously, I'd love you to run out to Barnes & Noble and buy the book and find out, or go to Amazon and click on it. But to give you the thumbnail, really, Why I'm an Atheist Who Believes in God is a title that is supposed to be a signal to a reader that this is a book that is anti-labeling. So what I really mean by that is that no one can be summed up by any one label. And in that sense, I've never met a Christian or a Jew or an atheist or an agnostic. I've just met human beings like me on a journey. Sometimes we change our minds, sometimes we grow and live. So let me take it out of the religious context and give you another title that would be similar. You know, why I've been married for 40 years and sometimes hate my wife, or why I love my children and sometimes I get sick of them, or why I'm glad I live in Massachusetts and wish I could move to Paris. Okay, you could say, well, how could you do both? Well, you know, if you really think about it, the only problem anybody would have with a title like Why I'm an Atheist Who Believes in God is if they see everything in kind of certainty, black and white categories, and I just don't. So the title leads into the essence of the book, which is, listen, there are irresolvable questions and paradoxes when it comes to issues of faith, family, and all the rest of it. And instead of trying to resolve everything, let's embrace the paradox. And one way